Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I came in today to talk about something that happened to me when I was in college. I was almost date raped in college. Now, normally when I do like a story time, it takes a long time to get my story out. So if you hang with me, I appreciate it. If you can't, I understand. But also, when I do these story times, I like to kind of give a little background so you can understand what led up to whatever story time that I'm giving. And in this case, I need to backtrack before I went to college so you will understand the young girl that went to college. I came from just a normal upbringing in a neighborhood in Cleveland is where I grew up. I grew up kind of in an old-fashioned upbringing, where I came from a home that was very structured, where there were rules and respect of elders and all of that. I came from a neighborhood where everyone in the neighborhood knew you, they knew your parents, and they had the right to reprimand you, spank you, do whatever they want. This is the type of environment that I grew up in. I also grew up when I was younger. I was a very, very big nerd. I was a bookworm and I was just the average looking black girl. Nothing special about me. I remember that I was such a bookworm and so into school and getting my grades and all of that that I was kind of introverted, a quiet girl. And I remember around 16, I had been wearing glasses and, just a nerd. Boys didn't really pay attention to me. I knew boys from school because I had two brothers, but I wasn't that girl that boys took a second look at. I was just a nerdy girl. And I remember when I turned 16, it's like my mother turned around and looked at me one day and said, we got to get this girl together. She's 16 now, and I'm going to, you know, help her develop into the young lady that she could be. My mother took me out and got me some contacts, and she started teaching me how to wear a little eyeliner and like tinted lip gloss. She even showed me how to put face powder on my face to even it out. She did my eyebrows, and we would go on these little mommy daughter shopping sprees where my mother would buy me a little, few little cute outfits, and she would explain to me that she would say stuff like, Rachel, you're built up so cute, and these are the clothes that you should wear. She would buy me little skirts because she would always tell me, you have some shapely legs. You should show them off. She said, you might be short, but you got shapely, cute legs. So she would buy me all these little skirts and t-shirts and little sandals. And when I look back on it now as a mother, what I realized is that my mother was taking this little flower and she was watering this flower and helping me to realize that there was more to me than my brain. Because up until that point, I just went to school, played with my brothers, hung out with them, had little girlfriends, but never, any type of boyfriend. Because in my home, you couldn't date until you were 16 anyway. So at 16, my mother took me on as a little project, I guess. Now, at 16, after she had done all this, it wasn't like boys were beating down my door because up until then, I had been a little nerd. So around 10th grade, I started noticing boys noticing me. But because I was so shy, so painfully shy, I never really let a boy know that, I was interested in him. Now, between the ages of 16 and 18, I did have a couple boyfriends. Nothing serious, because first of all, that was not happening in my house. And secondly, I didn't, I felt awkward and shy around boys. So the last year of high school, when I graduated, I got a little job at a little neighborhood grocery store, and I worked around a lot of young men then, stock boys and little stuff like that. And I could tell that, you know, they must have thought I looked okay looking because they would flirt with me innocently, nothing pushy, and I never dated any of them. And then that last year before I went to college, I started going out to little teeny bopper clubs. And some of the boys that I went to high school with would, ask for my phone number and all of that stuff. And I started thinking, well, when I was in high school, you never even knew I existed. Do I remind this boy that I used to sit behind him and I'll just say geometry or algebra or all that? So it was an awakening because right before I went off to college, boys start noticing me. So at the age of 19, I went to Kent State University. I was not the type of college student that was scared or nervous about going off to college. I was excited. It was like an adventure that I was going to go on. My roommate that first year was a white girl. When I opened the door the first time and realized that she was white, I grew up in a predominantly, well, I'm going to say not predominantly, it was all black neighborhood. So I was wondering how this was going to work. Would me and this white girl get along? Would she be racist or something and not want to live with me, or didn't know what I was walking into? Luckily, the girl that I roomed with, we got along from the moment I opened the door. The moment I walked into the room with my family, she hugged me. And, she was like, welcome. I'm gonna make myself scarce so you can get unpacked. Tell me about when you want me to come back. And she left the room to give me and my family space to unpack my stuff and get my room set up. She came back a few hours later. By then my family was gone. We sat in on the floor and we talked for hours, and then we went to dinner and we became good friends. Matter of fact, I thought she was crazy and we laughed a lot. So I was happy that I had a roommate that I was gonna get along with. I didn't know what I was walking into. Now, this roommate is gonna play a big factor in my story because when you're a college student, everybody's looking for a job on campus. We need extra money because we're poor little college students. I got a job in the cafeteria, and I remember my roommate, she got a job in this place where the athletes of the school, like our football team, our basketball team, where they get their equipment from. She was the person that they would check out their equipment, I guess like shoulder pads and whatever, shoes or whatever. I don't remember everything, but I just know that that's the job that she had. So one day her and I had agreed to go to dinner after she got off work. So I had gotten out of class early, and instead of going back to the room, I just went to where she worked, even though I was going to get there early and maybe had to wait like 20 minutes for her to get off. I just said, well, rather than going all the way across campus back to our dorm room, I'll just go to her job and wait for her. So when I was there, the football players were coming back from a practice and they were handing her their equipment. And after she got off, her and I, we went and we had dinner. And then, we went back to our room, studied, did whatever college kids did in the evening. So the next time my roommate had went to work, one of the football players had told her that he liked me and that could she asked me, would I be interested in dating him? So, first of all, I was shocked. I didn't even know that anybody paid attention to me that day when I was just sitting there waiting on her. So, what I did is I asked her to describe him to me because actually I really didn't pay attention to, you know, who the football players were. A lot of them had on helmets. When they came back, I couldn't tell who was black or white only by their arms. And because there were so few black ones, I didn't really pay attention to him. So she described him to me. She told me that he was a nice looking young man and that he wanted to go out with me. So I told her, because I didn't know this guy, I asked her, would she go on a double date with us? And she said, yeah. She understood that, hell, I wouldn't have even known who he was if he walked up and tapped me on my shoulder. So the day came for the date. Um, her and her little guy and the football player, he came over to our dorm to pick me and her and her date up. And when I saw him, I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. He was about 6 foot tall. I've told you guys I'm only 4'11". So I was thinking, what the hell does he want with my short ass? And again, I was just an average looking girl, nothing special. I knew how to fix myself up to make myself look cute back then. So, I was like, well, okay. On the date, I was shy. He was really nice to me and very gentlemanly to be a young guy. So, we kind of, you know, pulled ourselves apart from my roommate and her boyfriend, and we sat and talked. And I was like, okay, well, this is nice. He really seems interested in me. And he asked me, would I like to go on other dates with him? So I said, yeah, he was cute and a football player. So him and I proceeded to date for a couple months. At that time, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 months, and it was nice. He invited me to his football games. I went out, with him quite a bit. We studied together in the library. It was a normal young couple just dating. So around the 3 month mark, he had asked me to come over to his apartment. Up until then, we had just really went on dates because the dorm that I lived in, while it was co-ed, we could not have boys in our rooms. If I remember correctly, they couldn't come in after a certain time. And by him being a football player, he didn't actually live in the dorms. The athletes at Kent State, they lived in apartments that were on campus, but they weren't actually dorms. So I would have been able to come to his apartment freely, but he only had certain times that he could come to the dorm. Um, and when you're a college student, you don't really spend a lot of time in your dorm room. You're in the common area. So when he would come over, our dorm rooms were so little and he was so big that, it was tight and my roommate was there. So we would mostly, have our little dates at my dorm room down in the common areas, like down in the lobby where there are couches. And, if you ever been on a college campus, you kind of get the picture of what I'm saying. So this one particular time, he was like, Rochelle, I want to go out to dinner. And we'll go. We had a little place on campus called the Ratskeller. It was kind of like a little bar. And when I was 19, 19-year-olds could buy beer legally. So we went there, and I wasn't a drinker at the time. A sipper. I didn't really like the taste of beer, and I definitely wasn't into liquor. I think maybe I had one beer and sipped on it, and it got warm, and I never drank all of it. So after that, we went back to his room, and we were watching television, laughing and joking. One thing led to another, and we were intimate. So, not that I was a virgin or anything at that time. I had, you know, an encounter before. Nothing serious. It was with a boy back at home, just a boyfriend that I had grown up with. We ended up dating, and that's where I lost my virginity. So I really hadn't had a lot of experience with boys in that way. So liking him and, having dated him for about 2, 3 months by then, I felt comfortable enough to go there with him. And we did. So afterwards, we're just laying in the bed talking and laughing, and it gets to be late, and he says, "Rachel, would you like to spend a night? It's late, and you can take a shower. I'll give you something to wear, and then you can go home in the morning." So feeling comfortable, I was like, "Okay, no problem." My dorm room was across campus, so I didn't feel any type of way. He did have a roommate, but by them being football players, their apartment was the normal size apartment. Um, the way that it was set up is his bedroom. When you walked into the apartment, you walked into a living room, and off from the living room was a kitchen, and then his bedroom was on one side of the apartment, and his roommate's bedroom was on the other side of the apartment. The living room separated the two bedrooms and a hallway. So I remember him getting up, and he was going to find me a t-shirt to sleep in. And I remember that I think he went and took a shower, and then he gave me a t-shirt, and I went to take a shower. So when I got out the shower and went back in his room, he wasn't there. I heard him messing around in the kitchen. I figured he was getting something to eat or getting something to drink. So I got into his bed and I laid down. By then I was kind of sleepy, so I was dozing in and out. And I remember when I had walked out of the bathroom to go in his bedroom, I think he said something to me. He was standing in the kitchen. He had on some white boxer shorts. That's going to become important in a few minutes. He had on white boxer shorts. Like I said, by then I was, sleepy. I got in his bed and I was dozing in and out, waiting for him to come back into the room, shut the door, all of that. So I remember I was dozing, and I remember I opened my eyes for a second, and someone was standing in the doorway with some dark boxer shorts on. I didn't think anything about it. I dozed for a second, and then I remembered that I could feel weight on the bed, like someone was climbing into bed. So when I opened my eyes, I realized that that wasn't the football player. That wasn't the guy that I had, you know, been dating for these 3 months. This was someone else. And I sat up in the bed and I was like, what's going on? And I remembered that the guy continued to climb into the bed with me. And I scooted up to the headboard and I was like, what are you doing in here? And then he was like, Rachel, you know, and he said the other guy's name, that I had been dating 3 months, um, something like he wanted to share you with me. And I was like, what the fuck? Now I'm saying this to myself because at that point, even though I was naive, I knew what they meant by this. So I jumped out of bed. And again, I think I had on a t-shirt, or I'm not sure because I seem to remember being in my bra and panties. I don't know, y'all. All I remember is I started screaming. I didn't know what to do, so I literally just started screaming. And when I tell y'all I was screaming like I was being stabbed to death or something. So I think that scared him. And he jumped up out the bed and he said, stop screaming. And I was like, no. And I was like, get out my way, because he, when he jumped out the bed, the foot of the bed was right by the door. And I was like, if you don't get out my way, I'm gonna scream that you guys are trying to rape me and blah blah blah. So it scared him, and he backed away from the door so I can get out. When I tell y'all that I ran out of that apartment screaming down the hallway. Like I said, I don't remember if I had on a t-shirt or bra and panty, but I ran down the hall damn near naked. Now, when I got to the elevator, I just continued to scream. Doors were opening all up and down the hallway. Um, now, the apartments that they lived in, it was for college students. The majority of the people that were in the dorm were athletes, but there were also other students that lived there. I guess they were older students, like 22, 23. I remember that young women were coming out. They were asking me, was I okay? I was just screaming. I was terrified, terrified. Because when I was in that bed with that other guy, like he had grabbed my leg and was like kind of pulling me to him, under him, in other words, like so he can get on top of me. So my only reaction was terror. So I was screaming like it was a horror movie. So by the time that I got to the elevator, I was slipping on my little pants and, I didn't even have shoes on. I just grabbed my clothes. They were on a chair, forgot about my shoes. I think I even had a little purse. Um, I my keys were in there. I left all that shit. Only thing I had was my clothes. So I get on the elevator screaming all the way down. I never stopped screaming. People were trying to get me to stop, asking me what was going on. I was so terrified, I didn't even tell them. What I did is I got down to the bottom floor and I ran across campus pretty much screaming. By the time I made it to my dorm, I had calmed down. I had my clothes on, no shoes, no purse, no key to get in my dorm. So when I got to my dorm, we had a phone where you could call up. And I called my roommate. Luckily, I called my room. Luckily, my roommate was there. And I told her I didn't have my key. Can she come down and get me? Because not only did I not have my key, I didn't have my ID, my college ID, anything to prove that I lived in that dorm. So my roommate comes down to get me. I'm shaking up. I'm like in shock. I couldn't talk. I just told her something bad had just happened. And so we go up to the room and I sit down and I'm just sitting there like in my head reliving what happened. So my roommate was like, Rochelle, what is going on? You're scaring me. What is going on? Where's your purse? Where's your shoes? Why are you dressed like that? Because I think I had on his t-shirt. I think what it was is I got my pants and I had on this big huge t-shirt of his. Y'all, it's been so long ago I don't quite remember, but evidently what it was is I wasn't dressed like I was normally dressed. And here I am, no shoes, all of this, pants unbuttoned and all that. So eventually my roommate calms me down enough for me to tell her what happened. So when I told my roommate, she was like, oh my God, we need to call campus police. So by that time, I was calmed down and I was thinking, I said, well, what would I tell them? Because I went to his apartment freely because we have been dating for 3 months. I can't tell them that I was actually, you know, sexually assaulted by the other guy, which I don't even know if it was his roommate. I don't know who the guy was, who this other guy was that was trying to climb into bed with me. I didn't stick around long enough to find out. And his room was it was a light on, but it was a low light. You remember those lamps that you could just touch and they would go to, they would start at low and then you could click it all the way up to where the room is well lit. Well, he had one of those lights in his room. So I proceeded to tell my roommate everything that was going on. My roommate is just livid. She is like, well, let's go tell our RA. We got to tell somebody. So when I calmed her down and told her, I said, well, what will I tell them? You know, like I said, I was in his room freely and nothing actually happened with the other guy. Like he never got a chance to actually, assault me sexually because I started screaming. And so my roommate was like, well, Rochelle, that is attempted rape, you know? And I was like, I don't think so. They're gonna question me about why I was in the football player's room. And I don't know, y'all. I don't know if I was scared, embarrassed, still terrorized by what happened, but I was adamant that I did not want to report it. And I don't know if I thought that they would blame me in some kind of way. I don't know what I was thinking at that age, but I never reported it. So at that point my roommate was like, well, let me call your parents. We need to tell somebody. And I was like, oh no, because first of all, here I am 19, maybe going on 20. And even though my parents knew that I was an adult, you don't want to be discussing with your parents that you have been sexually active with a boy at college. And, something terrible almost happened. So stupid me, I was like, no, I don't want to call them either. And then I had left a little boyfriend back at home who basically I was going off to college, and I think he was going to a community college in the city that I came from. We weren't exclusive. We both knew that, you know, me going away for 6, 7 months, we really weren't going to have a relationship. But when I came home, he would be my like little boyfriend. So I was like, no, you can't really call him because that doesn't look right. So my roommate and I, we set up all night. She just, and this is when I say that this little white roommate was was very kind. We actually became really, really close because I remember her getting a blanket off my bed, getting her blanket. She wrapped the blanket around me, put her arms around me, and we cried and we talked all night trying to figure out what to do. And she called her parents, and she asked me, was it okay to tell them because we needed advice on what to do. And her parents were telling me that I needed to tell someone. And actually, they came down that weekend and, talked to me, tried to get me to tell someone. And I don't know why, y'all, I didn't tell. You know how when you're younger, you're, for lack of a better word, stupid and naive. Eventually, my roommate went back to work. And I guess I had shook those football players up so much that they brought my purse and my shoes to her, to my roommate, and gave them to her. And, try to tell her that they really didn't do anything and that I took things wrong, which I really didn't. Somebody climbing in the bed with you is how can you take that wrong? They had asked her, was I going to tell on them? Because I guess, if I went to the authorities, it would jeopardize them playing football. And my roommate, she didn't say yes or no. My roommate was smart. She wanted to keep them scared. She said, at this point, I don't know what Rachel is going to do. She's weighing out her options, to kind of keep them on, from messing with me on campus. Like if I ran into them for seeing, for them saying anything to me. Now, after that happened, I'm gonna say this. After that, I was kind of scared to date on campus anymore. That cured me for about a year. So what I did is I just hung out with my girlfriends and I stayed away from boys after that because up until that point at school, we would go to the little neighborhood clubs in our little college town of Kent. And, you would dance with boys, you would flirt with boys, but that's where I left it. I didn't give out my number. I didn't take any numbers. I was cured of dating boys for quite a while because that whole experience scared the shit out of me. In hindsight, I'm trying to think, should I have told? I guess yes, but I didn't know what I was going to say, if y'all understand what I mean. Because was I wrong for being in the apartment of the football player that I was dating? I can still remember his name, y'all. I can still remember his name. His name was Stewart. It just came back to me. After all these years, I that name just popped back in my head at that moment, telling this story. His name was Stewart. Don't remember his last name, and I wouldn't say it if I did, but I just remember his name was Stewart. That was the guy that I was dating. Now, after that, and I can see this story is about to be long. After that, I had a friend, a black friend on campus. She came from the city that I did back home. And I remember seemed to know all the athletes, all the black athletes at Kent State, all the football players that were popular on campus, all the basketball players that were popular on campus. And I remember she always used to try to get me to double date with them. Now, this is after that incident that I had. And I was like, no, I'm off boys for a little while, I don't really want to date. But I always used to be with her when she was, when we would be out and she would run into, the popular basketball players on campus, popular football players on campus, and it seemed like they really knew her well. Now, I noticed that when she would get around them, she would act really what we call fast and let them be touchy feely on her. And I used to be thinking, is this because she's drinking? Because when I was in college, you could get this beer that would be like 25 cents a cup. And so if you had $1, you would probably be drunk because you would buy 4 cups of beer. So I used to think, well, maybe she's drunk. This is why she's letting these boys be all touchy feely on her. But what I found out is from other, you know, black girls that I, had come to meet on campus, is that my friend was a little loose. And the rumor was that she was the girl that when a recruit who was thinking about coming to Kent, she was the girl that the other football players would kind of set them up with, and she would have sex with them. And it made her popular with with the football players, the basketball players, a lot of the black Greeks, like the Kappas and the Qs. She was really popular. But the reason why she was popular is because she was a little loose. So um I had told her what happened with that football player without the knowledge of all that she was to them. And she got mad, and was saying that, I should have told and blah, blah, blah. So she had come up with this scheme to get him back. And I was telling her, don't do it. Don't do it. Um, I haven't said anything. It's peaceful. They're not bothering me or any of that. Now, this friend, how I said that all of us got jobs on campus? Um, this friend worked like in a print shop on campus where you could go print out posters and flyers and things like that. So her idea was to come up with a poster and post it all over campus. And what the poster said was, beware of this football player, that he had herpes or something. And she posted this pretty much all over campus. Now, I can't remember the wording. It says something like we were raising money to help him get, not we, I should back up, her, that they were raising money to help him with medical expenses or something to that effect. And I knew that when he got wind of it, it was going to be bad. Now, luckily, she didn't put my name on anything, but he knew that she worked in that print shop. So she put him up one day, and it took a couple days. But I remember I was in her room, and there was a loud banging on her door. And we had metal doors when I was on campus at Kent. Metal doors with a peephole. So she looked out the peephole, and it was him banging on her door. This guy banged on her door so hard and so long that it jammed her door. We never opened up the door. I told her, don't tell him I'm in this room. I don't want no parts of this. I told you not to do this. This is on you. So he banged on her door so hard that when he left, we could not get the door open. We literally had to call like maintenance, and they had to figure out how to get us out that room. She lived on the first floor of this dorm. Hell, y'all, I climbed out the fucking window and dropped down, ran out, and ran away because I was thinking, when this boy finds out that this girl did it on my behalf, it's going to be hell on this campus. Now, for some reason, she never told, or no one ever connected why these posters were put up to me. So she took the heat for that. I felt sorry for her, but I didn't have anything to do with it. And what I remember is, and this is something that I guess kind of happens on a lot of college campuses, um, the football players and the athletes at our college, as a joke at the end of the school year, they will put out this list called the Scully list. If I remember correctly, that was the name of it. And what that list was, and it was underground. It wasn't something they posted around campus, but all the black kids at the school knew about this list, and it would get circulated amongst us. And what this list was all the girls that they had slept with, and they would rate them and talk about them on this list. Now, I didn't know that this list existed until I started hearing rumors that the list was out for the year. Y'all, I was so scared that my name was going to be on there because of that incident that I had. But I think these football players, with me screaming, and there were witnesses to me running out their room and tearing down the hall and screaming all through their campus. I mean, all through their apartment complex. That for some reason they didn't put my name on it, because I think they still feared that I could go to the authorities on them. So when some of my friends got hold of the list, I was like, just saying, name the names that are on there. And no one said my name was on there. I didn't even want to touch the paper, y'all, because I was scared that my name was going to be on there. But my friend, the girl who's the football player, came and banged on the door, trying to kick the damn door in to get in to choke the shit out of her. He put her on the list and said that she had slept with all these different recruits that had come to Kent State, guys on the basketball team, guys on the football team, whatever sports that there were. Her name was on there as accused of sleeping with all these different boys. Even some of the black Greeks, from the Qs and the Kappas and just everybody this girl was affiliated with sleeping with. So after that, her and I, we remained friends. We even went to, after, that summer, we got a job working at Cedar Point. Anyone who lives in Ohio knows what that is. But when we got a job there, our friendship kind of broke up because she was dating a boy there that was flirting with me behind her back every 5 minutes. And I guess she could tell that her boyfriend kind of liked me and would try to include me and stuff. And I didn't like the motherfucker because he wasn't all that cute to me. And plus, I'm very loyal to my friends. I not the type of person that would sneak behind one of my friends' backs and mess around with their man. But she knew he liked me, so you know it made our friendship, kind of cold, and we broke our friendship there working at that amusement park. We actually started there as roommates, and then eventually we decided that we didn't want to live together, and we both got a different room. But that is my story, y'all, of almost being date raped at college. I know this was long, but my question to you is, after I told this story and told you about who I was when I was that age, do you think that I should have told someone in authority what happened to me? Or do you think that I did the right thing because that second boy did not have a chance to actually physically or sexually assault me? I guess now when I think about it, maybe I should have told, because those two young men had cooked up something, that could have been really bad for me. And now when I look at television and hear of these stories where college girls were date raped, things went left, and the college girl, to shut her up, these boys have killed a girl. You know, it makes me think about what happened to me and how it could have gone left, especially with me screaming like that. What if they, instead of being scared by me screaming, What if they would have tried to silence me? Here were these two big 6 foot plus football players wearing every bit of over 200 pounds, me 4'11, weighing about 100 pounds soaking wet. They could have did very serious bodily harm to me in that room if they had wanted to shut me up. I wouldn't have had any defense. I just did what naturally came to me as a woman, and that was to scream. And I didn't stop screaming. I mean, y'all, when I screamed so long and so hard that the next day I was hoarse and my vocal cords hurt. That's how hard I screamed. Like I said, I grew up with two brothers that we tussled around a lot. I'm the oldest and I was bossy, and my brothers, when they got to the age where they could say, look, we not taking you whooping up on us, we bigger than you, and they would sling me across the room, but they loved me. They weren't trying to hurt me. So I had never been in a situation with boys that were trying to hurt me or do harm to me. So that whole experience, y'all, it woke me up. It really woke me up. And after that, I was very cautious on campus with boys that I dated. My dating was different. I I did not go to their room. I did not go to places alone with them. I would always want to be in a group setting when we went out on dates. I acted like a teenager dating after that. Like, the only time that I would be alone with them is if we were in a public place. I wasn't going off to some isolated areas. And thank God that the boys that I did finally, when I, got over being scared of dating, they didn't notice that, I wouldn't come to their dorm room and stay overnight, or, because a lot of times when you're on college campus, even though you're in say, an all girl dorm or all guy dorm with rules that you're not to have the opposite sex in your room after a certain time, you guys know that we as college students, we were sneaking into each other's rooms. We were breaking the rules. But after that incident, I never did that. I would be like, see ya, the night is over. That's it for me. You can come over my dorm and we can go down to the lobby and hang out, but you're not coming up to my room and I'm not going to your room. Because after that, I was scared, y'all. I was scared. So that's the end of my story. I welcome any comments. I know this story time was really long. I hope you enjoyed it. And please comment down in the comment section. Do you think I should have told? And with that, everyone, thank you for watching my video as always. And I will see you in the next one. You guys have a wonderful day now. Bye-bye.